From EPAWA Weather Consulting, headquartered in Worth Whitehall, Pennsylvania, this is Weather Weeklies, an informative video of the ins and outs of weather that affect you most in the EPAWA coverage area. The thoughts and opinions expressed in this video are those of the forecaster alone and may not reflect those of the staff of EPAWA Weather Consulting LLC as a whole, nor its constituents. Now, without further ado, here is meteorologist Bobby Martrich with Weather Weeklies.
Good Sunday morning to another edition of Weather Weeklies for November 12th, 2023. If you missed the first week of Weather Weeklies, it was last Sunday, and I kind of tried to build a base of where we're going to go week to week as far as trends and certain things to look for, and that's what we're going to continue to do today. But we do have, as we start off every single week with the long-range outlook that I do on Friday. This is the image from that in the long-range table. You see a lot of ups and downs here. We're going to be obviously below average through about midweek this week, and then we have a warm-up ahead of a cold front that comes through late week, and then we're just kind of hanging near to slightly above average or near average, right near the side of average for the remainder of November. Then after that point, even early December, I think, is going to average on the warmer side of average before we start to level out here by week 3 of the month of December. Once we get into the second half of December, it starts to get a little bit more normal around here. So I did this outlook here on Friday, and I saw a lot of moaning and groaning when it came to this part down here, which is the December as a whole was changed from near average to near to slightly above average. That's not a huge, enormous change from what it was the previous week. It was near average, plus or minus 1. But I saw some people kind of moaning and groaning about this change here to 0 to plus 2. It's not that big of a deal of the 0 to plus 2, but also near average snowfall to near to slightly below average snowfall. And people are like, oh, here we go. When we do an initial outlook, it's taking a snapshot of what we can see so far in December. Now I can see a lot more in December. I can see what's going on and see that the first half is going to be a little bit milder. Nothing blowtorch stuff, but it's going to be a little bit milder. But the good thing here is we are below average this month in precipitation, as you can see here. As we get into December, I think we make that turn and El Nino starts kicking in. We get into slightly above average temperatures. El Nino falls typically don't produce a lot of precipitation. We're seeing that. But once we get into December, that's going to be the transition month. We're going to start seeing a little bit more in the way of precipitation coming into the region. Here's what we have for average snowfall so far. This is what average snowfall is in the month of November. It's not much unless you get up to like the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre area. You can see a 3.2 popping up here, but in December you can see these values are going a lot higher from what they were at all locations, and so we're not expecting much in the month of November. We are right now, however, starting off with a bunch of zeros across the entire board at all these climate stations. These are major climate stations across the region, and haven't seen any measurable snow at any of those locations just yet. Philadelphia and Atlantic City, you shouldn't see any yet anyway. Allentown, Harrisburg, Newark, just above trace amounts you should see by this point, but we haven't seen that yet. And Scranton-Wilkes-Barre 1.6 is obviously 0 right now, but that's not much to make up, and it doesn't take much time to do that. Again, starting off, and this is the biggest takeaway from last week I think a lot of people missed, and I'm not sure how you missed it. But an El Nino winter typically doesn't start off out the gates with big snow, okay, in December, especially not November, but in December too. December usually doesn't mean you can't get snow in December. You certainly can. Just, usually not a blockbuster month as far as snowfall is concerned, and it's usually something that kind of threads the needle and gives you snow here in early December. So I don't know where people got the idea that I was saying is going to start early. I'd never said that at all. I don't think it's going to start early this year, and I think that period between November 15th and December 15th is probably not going to feature much, okay? We just do start looking past, once we get past Thanksgiving, typically is when we start looking at credible threats, okay? So I do think there's opportunities for the climatologically favored areas, and you can see that here. We look at here's Thanksgiving, and then it keeps going all the way through the end of the month, through the evening of the 27th, and you see it's increasing here. Right, and you see this is increasing up in these areas. This is through the end of the month, and you can see that is definitely increasing in those areas, right? So this is Thanksgiving right here, okay? There's Thanksgiving morning. Not much snow yet across the region, but you get after Thanksgiving and to the end of this loop, which is the evening of the 27th, which is right there, okay? Oop, it's going to keep looping on me. At the very end of the loop here, you can see it's increasing, and that's the time we start seeing those increases in precipitation, or excuse me, snowfall. So that is more, and the climatologically favored areas are going to be in the farther northwest areas, okay? So that is going to end up increasing once we get past Thanksgiving and we head into December. All right. Now, this is that time of year I had to start talking about the Facebook post, and this is the European Ensemble. This was the European Weeklies that ran on Thursday. This is not what the Weeklies show. Okay, and somebody that shared this captioned this as being the Euro Ensemble model, and it's not. It is the Euro Weekly Control. Okay. The weeklies go out to about 6 weeks in advance into the future, and the control is one singular run out of 50. One. Okay, so they cherry-picked this one run to show all this snow in here. Tremendous amount of snow, and there's 30 to 40 inches of snow in this period. They also mentioned in the caption that this was the 10 days before Christmas. This is not a 10-day before Christmas forecast. It's a 32-day snowfall total, which would be between November 22nd and December 24th, okay? A 32-day total. So both wrong on both accounts. These kind of things are being shared on Facebook, and they're done without context, or in this case, incorrect context. This is not the Euro Ensemble. Euro Ensemble only goes to 2 weeks into the future. And even that, you can't take verbatim for what it's showing. That's what this is right here that I just showed you, which is the GFS Ensemble. This is a 2-week lead. Okay, and it shows increasing chances up in our northwestern areas, our far interior, climatologically favored areas, right? It doesn't have this, because this is going all the way out to Christmas Eve, okay? And this is a total for that 32-day period. So just ignore this stuff here, especially if it doesn't have context. Good buddy of mine at Lehigh Valley Weather Authority posted this in jest, and he said it as much in his post. So he said, just this is kind of getting you in the spirit kind of thing. That's the only reason he posted it. But the originator of those posts, I have no problem with what Tony did. Tony does a great job. But as far as some of these the original poster of this was in completely incorrect context with this thing. So just ignore this kind of stuff when you see it. What we are going to start paying attention to, obviously, and this is what we started as a base point last week with the El Nino, where we were and where we're going to be trending each week is what we're going to be following. The El Nino regions, obviously we're in El Nino. We are in a strong El Nino. There is no doubt about that. We're going to change, we're going to look at the temperatures, these actual sea surface temperatures, which are right here, okay? And each week, what you want in this case is a more basin-wide look. So the warmest anomalies are out here in the eastern portions, which are Nino 3 and Nino 1 and 2, okay? You want this to balance out a little bit, and it's starting to. At least the trends in the last week have shown that. The western regions are a little bit milder than the last week. The far eastern region cooled by 0.4 degrees Celsius. So that's a big change since the following week. We want this to be a little more spread out. Again, it's not, I said this last week, it's not so much how strong El Nino gets. It's more about placement of those best anomalies, sea surface temperature anomalies in the equatorial eastern Pacific. And that's what the region we're looking for. That's this area right in here that we are paying attention to. Right here. This is your area we're focused on for your El Nino regions, right? That's it. Those areas right here. So Nino 4 is out here, okay? 3.4 is right here. This is probably the most important region within the El Nino regions for our sensible weather. Nino 3 is out here, and then 1 and 2 is near the Peruvian coast right over here, okay? So these are obviously warmer in the eastern sections out here than out here, but it is starting to balance out westward, okay? So it's not, if it's east-based and it's a, super El Nino, forget it. We're done. It's a kiss of death for winter, but we're starting to see this spread out a little bit. We're going to continue to monitor those trends over the next couple of weeks. I personally think that by the time we get to December, it is going to be balanced. It's going to be more of a basin-wide event. It's not going to be central-based. It is still favoring, it is still a strong east-based El Nino as of this time I'm doing this video. It doesn't mean it's going to remain that way, and I don't think it does very long. Maybe, I think sometime in December. I've seen some people project as early as late as January, but I think it's going to end up being a little bit sooner in December. Here is the 7-day change from what the temperatures were anomalously from a week ago today. So this is last Sunday, right? And since then, those eastern regions are continuing to cool, as you can see by these blue colors here. And out here in Nino 4, Nino 3.4, it's kind of like about the same, maybe slightly warmer, okay? So you're still getting cooler out here in the eastern regions relative to the rest of the basin. So this is a trend we have to continue to follow here over the next week or two, because this is going to impact what's going to, actually, next several weeks, probably going all the way through the winter solstice. Okay, we got to pay attention to this stuff on a weekly basis and see where it's trending, because if it's more basin wide, you have a better opportunity. That's good for us. We have a good opportunity in that situation. Here's what the model predictions are of ENSO. It is going to continue to get stronger than it is now, even probably. It's almost at peak, but it's kind of like up here, up at this pinnacle right here, right about here. Here's we're right about here, okay, right about there. So it's almost at peak. It's close. And then it's going to very gradually start going down once we hit January, and then through the rest of winter, it's going to go down. I don't think it gets down to the point where we are back to a moderate El Nino by the end of winter, but that is, that's where we're kind of headed. This is still the October projections. We have not seen the new November projections yet. This is what a paintbrush El Nino does. It is the persistent extended Pacific jet stream and amplified storm track across the southern United States. This is your southern jet loaded with moisture, and the polar jet streams off to the north. But if you have blocking up here, there's Greenland is up there, right? If you get some blocking, you can get this to do one of these numbers a lot like 2009, 2010 did. Okay, you can get that, and I think this year is going to feature a lot more blocking. And if you look at the big storm, the big, strong, and very strong El Ninos that we've had historically, the ones that produce the most snow feature blocking. Okay, featured a lot of blocking. Here are those winters that I showed you last week again. And if you're looking at analogs to say, well, strong El Ninos don't really produce, or very strong El Ninos don't produce, we get blanked, we get torched. That doesn't mean anything. Just because the sea surface temperatures are very warm out there doesn't have anything to do with us. Okay, because 57, 58, this is the first one on the list. This was a very, very good winter for us. Now, it was backloaded, didn't start off very good in the beginning in December. Still had some snow. And you could certainly still have some snow in December here, too, which is, I don't think it's going to be a blockbuster start. 65, 66, great winter again. 72, 73, blowtorch, was not a good winter. 87, 88, I'll give you a half credit on this one, because this was, for our northern areas, it was slightly above average. For southern areas, it was not. It was slightly below. So it's kind of a hit or miss across our region, and 91, 92 was too warm, okay? So that's, if you're adding this up and keeping score at home, strong Ninos since 1950 have given you two very good winners, two bad winners, and one kind of split decision, right? So that's kind of half and half. Same thing here in a very strong 82, 83, blockbuster winner. And again, backloaded. We had a big blizzard in February that year. 97, 98 was a blowtorch, okay? That means very warm, very little snow, okay? 2015, 2016. Again, I'm going to give you half credit on this one, because this one was a mild winter throughout. You had that one mega storm that saved the day in January. They dumped, in some places, a season's worth of snowfall across parts of our region, okay? So it saved the day. So you look back at it, you look at the winter as a whole, you're like, oh, this is a good winter. No, it really wasn't. It just you had that one storm that saved the day, okay? I know, for example, the biggest snowfall of all time in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is close to where I live. I don't live in Allentown, but I mean, 2015, 2016 had a 31 point, I think it was 31.9 inches of snow. The entire winter had 36 even. So that should tell you that one storm produced that much. So in those, but the common theme here between this one, even this one, and this one had blocking, and they were all starting off a little bit later. You had some snow in some of these years early on, but it wasn't like an incredible amount. So, we'll see. I just don't expect this to start off very quickly. And you can see, look at the 500 millibar chart for the month of December, and it looks like this, okay? Your higher heights are up here, right? So this is a warmer look. It's a milder look. It's not crazy warm, but it's milder. And your cooler is down here, right? This is what the Euro Weeklies project. Okay, not the Ensemble, not the Control. This is the Euro Weeklies, what it projects for the month of December. The Euro Monthlies are showing the same thing, okay? Just the same thing. So they're in agreement with each other. And this is what all east-based moderate or strong El Ninos have done since 1876 in the month of December, has that same look, which is what's being projected. So this is not a great look for us, at least not for the first half of December. After that, I think we get in a little bit more favorable pattern. And again, it doesn't mean you can't get something thread the needle in there and get snow. You certainly can. But I think the better chances are going to be the second half of December. Okay? And here is the loop here in December. You get into the second half. Watch that erode. See that right there? It starts off warm in the first half of December. You get to the second half, and that warm starts to erode, and you have at the base of this, if I can get this to stop, I'm going to get this to work just yet. Okay, there we go. So it did stop this time. Yeah, around the base of this, you're going to get some cool undercutting this ridge, and this is starting to, the ridging is starting to push out, and it's going to consolidate up in here in January. That's the idea. And we know this because, again, looking at this chart here from February, this is December. Look what it does in January, okay? January is a favorable look. It's a much more favorable look. It's not ideal, but it's favorable. All the higher heights are across central and northern Canada. You get some blocking come into play here, and then you go into February. It is definitely ideal, okay? And this is why you have your big storms, your back-ended winter look here in the month of February because of this look here. This is ideal. This is what you want in winter. You have blocking here. You have strong ridging over the top and cold undercutting it along with that strong southern jet with all that moisture. You get a lot of snow out of that situation. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. The other thing we're looking at here, of course, is the Madden Julian oscillation. I told you about this last week that we're seeing a dominance of running through the phases of 7, 8, and 1. And we're about to run into phase 7 again here very shortly, and it's going to continue in this manner like this. So this is phase 7, phase 8, phase 1. I will tell you that in December, this doesn't help us right now. It's not good, okay? The cold phases are down here in phases 1 and 2. Phase 3 is a blowtorch. Phase 4, blowtorch. Phase 5, blowtorch. This is the month of December. Phase 6, blowtorch. Phase 7, blowtorch. Phase 8, I'll say, is mild. It's not a blowtorch, but it's still favoring the warmer side of average, okay? So we go through these phases here, and it actually has it going through phases 1 and 2 before collapsing the circle of death again. So there is a window of opportunity with a 7 to 10 day lag of the Madden Julian oscillation to affect our sensible weather to produce something in early December in a thread the needle fashion as it's going through phases 1 and 2. It's very possible. Now you're like, what are you talking about phases? What are you talking about here? Well, these are the El Nino phases this is where the best convection is, and these are the 7, 8, and 1 regions right in here on either side of the international date line. These are the areas we're looking for in winter, deeper into winter, not December, but like January, February, March. We're looking for to produce some bigger storms. And the idea here is the best convection where it is, and you can see that where it is in this loop. This is a loop of the last several days of where the best convection is across the equatorial regions from globally. Where's the best convection globally? It's right there in that region. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign. The other part of this is what this does. All this convection that's sitting out here, what it does is it pushes. It has thunderstorms. These are thunderstorms. Convection. It's latent heat release process. Shoots poleward and it pushes up on the jet stream like this. So and what comes up must come down, and that's the whole idea behind that. And it's a favorable pattern for our region as we get deeper into winter. And those are where the phases are here. 7, 8, 1 are out here, just same area where they are now. So there's a lot of dominance in there. It doesn't help us right now, but it will help us down the road. So again, this is leaning toward the argument of, well, December's really not that great, and don't expect a whole lot. And again, in those years that I showed you, the highlighted, they didn't start out too great. There was some snow here and there in some of those years, but it wasn't necessarily a blockbuster year. So stay away from the weenie Facebook posts, especially the ones that are not with any context or incorrect context. If you don't hear me talking about it, you don't hear EPAWA in general talking about it, it's usually not a legitimate thing. But hey, if you want to ask me on Twitter, knock yourself out, and I'll tell you what I think about it. But this is let this serve as that from the European Weeklies control run that was from last Thursday. I can tell you that that's probably most likely false. Okay, and once we have winter storm signals pop up, I will certainly include those in a long range outlook. We will talk about it in the Weather Weeklies video. I just don't have any yet. Okay, doesn't mean we're not getting close. We certainly are, but it's only November 12th at the end of the day. Continue to watch El Nino trends through the end of calendar autumn, which of course is December 21st. I don't do that BS with the meteorological seasons. I think it doesn't apply to our area locally. So I don't. People want to say, "Oh, let's start a meteorological winter. It's December 1st." Wait 3 weeks. Okay, wait till calendar weeks. Winter starts is when winter really starts going around here. 2023-2024 winter may get off to a slower start, but still could be a decent snowfall or two in December. This is the same caption I had up here last week, and I'm not sure how people got confused thinking I thought that it was going to be a snowy December. I never said that. This is the same caption I had in last week's Weather Weeklies video, and like my buddy Ray says, check tape. You can look at the video; it's archived. You can watch from last week, and it has the same thing. May get off to a slower start. Okay, that's what I had. So I'm not sure where we got confused there. Just because I adjusted slightly the temperatures doesn't have anything to do with what we're overall thinking here is for the month of December. The intraseasonal patterns will dictate how winter plays out, and we're probably not in a locked-in pattern. In other words, you're not going to have like cold snaps that are going to last weeks upon weeks. It's probably going to go up and down. So if you get an early snowfall, whether that be December, January, whatever, don't expect that same snowfall to still be on the ground until the end of winter. It's not going to just keep piling up. I think it's going to be, you get a snowstorm, it melts, snowstorm melts, that kind of thing. So we'll have those intraseasonal patterns, which are basically the Madden Julian oscillation, will dictate how this goes. Okay, these favorable phases will help, and of course other teleconnections as well. So we'll follow that throughout the winter. And again, we're just doing trends here in the month of November. I don't see anything big on the horizon. Maybe some minor stuff after Thanksgiving is that your GFS Ensemble I showed, which is a realistic time frame within 2 weeks. We could stick there as a starting point, but it still is not a strong storm signal just yet. Once they are there, I will let you know. My Pocket Meteorologist winter alerts have started on November 1st, and you can get those for the winter season coming up. And just join you can join there by clicking on this link right here or going to that link. And that will take you to not only the text alerts, but also the option to get in the premium forum, which we discuss everything about the long-range patterns in more detail throughout the week on Monday and Wednesday. And we also do model analysis ahead of every single winter storm. So, and everybody that's a forum member can attest to that, how great that is. It's a fully interactive forum. We can answer questions and all that stuff in that forum as well. So go to this link here, and you can sign up for all the winter alerts and the premium forum for this upcoming winter. Also, bottom right-hand corner here is a subscribe button. Please, not the one that's flashing or growing or whatever. Just hover over the bottom right-hand of this screen, right down here, and when you do, you'll see a subscribe button. That helps us tremendously if you're subscribing to these videos and hitting the bell for notifications, because we don't have to rely on social media to get to you that, hey, we released a video, and this is important information, this free information that you can follow, not only for the Weather Weeklies video on Sundays, but also the daily forecast videos throughout the week. You're subscribing to our channel, not just this particular video. I'm EPAWA meteorologist Bobby Marchers. That is this edition of Weather Weeklies for Sunday, November 12th. Join us again next week. We'll continue to follow these trends, and hopefully, for you winter lovers, we'll have a storm signal that we can start tracking. But if we don't, it's going to be just a matter of time before we do. Take care.